Tonight on The Big Story, the Chinese Coast Guard's water cannon is up again as it fires, though indirectly, at a Filipino ship on a food and fuel run off Bajo de Masinloc. President Marcos is leaning toward a reset in Manila and Beijing's relations, with aggressions at sea not letting up. And the Vice President's office wants special food arrangements for Sara Duterte's impeachment defense team, and the OVP wants the Senate to foot the bill.
Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. We begin with another incident of China's aggression over the West Philippine Sea, which involves a water cannon again. This is only the recent incident among a few over the last 2 weeks that has President Marcos now considering a reset in Manila and Beijing's relations. The big story tonight from mobile journalist Fatima Baduria.
BFP Datu Dumang Seal, owned by the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, is supposed to deliver oil and food supplies to Filipino fishermen in Bajo de Masinloc on the morning of Thursday, July 23. For this mission, the vessel is accompanied by a Philippine Coast Guard ship. What's supposed to be a routine supply run was interrupted when a China Coast Guard vessel sent a radio challenge. What followed was a series of dangerous maneuvers meant to block Datu Dumang Seal from moving forward. The BFAR ship persisted, but so did the Chinese ships. At 6:30 a.m., CCG blasted its water cannon. The Chinese aim was not direct though, so fortunately, no one was hurt. Eventually, Datu Dumang Seal was able to proceed and deliver the provisions to Filipino fishermen. The Philippine Coast Guard also sent an aircraft to Bajo de Masinloc for assistance, but China radioed ahead, trying to send the reinforcement away. The PCG aircraft carried on with its monitoring and was able to spot 3 Chinese Coast Guard ships, 2 Chinese maritime militia boats, and a Chinese Navy ship in the area, just more than 200 kilometers from Luzon.
I do not know the objective, why they're doing this. I was not even supposed to respond to this kind of harassment of the Chinese Coast Guard, but they decided to post it in social media that with this kind of water cannoning, they were able to suppress the Philippine government vessels. But despite of this kind of harassment of the China Coast Guard, the entire BFAR and Coast Guard vessels still proceeded to our mission.
In a Facebook post, the Chinese embassy in Manila maintained that Bajo de Masinloc, which they call Wangyandao, is Chinese territory, and that it is Philippine ships that illegally encroach the area. It also released its own footage of the incident, but it did not show the water cannoning. Meanwhile, in a meeting with the Swedish counterpart Paul Johnson, Defense Secretary Gilbert Teodoro stressed that China had no right interfering in any of Philippines' activities and right within our exclusive economic zone yet. Teodoro also rejected Chinese Ambassador Jing Quan's claims that the Philippines breached the provisional understanding on Ayungin Shoal. Quan had pertained to the said agreement in referring to an alleged illegal construction by BRP's Sierra Madre, which supposedly caused tensions over Ayungin.
That's against the spirit of our provisional agreement. That is no new construction, keep the status quo. Okay, we all agree to the resupply, agreement. But we found they're doing something new.
Recall that in 2024, Manila and Beijing reportedly entered into a provisional agreement to ease tensions in the disputed territory, after an incident there caused one Filipino soldier to lose his thumb. The agreement had never been publicized. And now Teodoro is saying he does not know anything about the provision of the agreement Quan is referring to.
I believe there was an agreement to embargo the contents of the conversation, but the Chinese ambassador was the first one to violate that embargo by having that ambush interview right after the talk.
Thank you, Secretary.
And after that, he claims the next day that there was an agreement not to talk about it after he already talked about it. I must call that out. Sino niloloko nila? Pagkatapos ganito ang ginagawa nila, nandito sila, magsasabi sila na gusto nila ay kapayapaan. Pagkatapos ganito ang ginagawa nila, paano tayo maniniwala dyan sa mga yan? Walang hiya. I mean, hindi na ako dapat magpigil eh. You cannot trust these statements given the behavior and actuations of these officials. At hindi tayo ungguyin ng mangungunggoy. Ungguyin niya yung iba, huwag tayo.
Asked for comment on this matter, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral J. Tariela, had this to say.
I will refer that question to the Department of Foreign Affairs.
The DFA has not yet responded to the more recent encounters in disputed sea. Before Thursday's Masinloc incident, President Bongbong Marcos dangled a reset in Manila's relations with Beijing. That's following the chief executive's meeting with Chinese Ambassador Jing Quan, coming right after the July 20 violence that seriously injured 2 Philippine Navy personnel.
Usap sila at ang nais na mangyari dito ng Pangulo ay hindi na maulit ang mga pangyayari at ma-reset sana ang relasyon ng China at ng Pilipinas sa mas magandang pakikipag-ugnayan. Nadinig siya ng ambassador ng China, nadinig din ng Pangulo ng ambassador ng China. So with that, sana magkaroon ng mas magandang resulta.
In an exclusive interview on One News's The Long Take, Teodoro said the China Coast Guard deliberately provoked Philippine troops during Monday's incident. He rejected claims that the assault was isolated, saying it could be part of a broader strategy by Beijing. The defense chief also cited the timing of China's more recent aggressions, believing they are interconnected. Among them, the claim of Chinese scholars that Batanes is part of China through Taiwan, and the AI-generated video portraying the Philippines as a monkey.
The Chinese don't do things at random. There is a grand opera, a grand script, a grand play, everybody has a script. So this is part of it. It could also be that Xi Jinping, to solidify his hold, he would like perhaps to firm up his legitimacy and creating the scenario where China is under siege.
Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
In other news, Senator Robin Hood Padilla clarifies his remark at the Duterte impeachment court that the prosecution should not be, quote, one-sided. In a Facebook post on the morning after he made the statement, Padilla addressed lead House prosecutor Jervil Luistro. He said justice is neutral and that the prosecution should not aim for victory but for truth and protection of the innocent. As for the defense, Padilla believes the objective is to ensure human rights and the balance of power for both parties. The senator suggests blindness to political alliances. Recall that during his manifestation yesterday, Padilla urged the prosecution against partisanship.
Sana hindi one-sided ang ating persecution. Ano? Kasi alam nyo, pag kayo ang pagpabor sa inyo, alam nyo ba, bawal po ang ginagawa.
Kindly maintain order within the
bawal po
court.
ang ginagawa nitong nasa harap natin, nagkukomento.
Kindly maintain order in the court.
Hindi po
Order in the
sila
court.
allowed. Mag-ingay. Korte po ito.
You may proceed, Senator Judge
I was
Padilla.
interrupted.
In response, the prosecution maintained being one-sided in an impeachment trial is but natural, the nature of the beast. Lawyers said if there's anyone who should be neutral, it should be the senator judges.
Well, with all due respect kay Senator Judge Robin Padilla, no? Apparently, this impeachment trial is adversarial. Siguro mas nakakapagtaka pag naging neutral ang prosecution. At lalong nakakapagtaka kung i-defend namin yung respondent.
Prosecution should really be one-sided, di ba? Because yun ang task ng prosecution. The defense is also one-sided because they have to prove the defense.
Private Prosecutor Lorna Kapunan also apologized for the commotion at the session hall during Wednesday's trial.
We're very appreciative that Senator Robin always brings color and surprise and excitement. Gising kami lahat at pinagalitan pa kami sa front row. So may I use this opportunity to apologize to Senator Judge Robin. There was no intent to disrespect him.
And now here to give us his perspective on the Duterte impeachment trial and the week that was and the week that will be in Philippine politics, we have our resident political pundit, Ronald Llamas. Thank you for joining the big story once again.
My pleasure.
Dalay
Yes.
Llamas. Okay, unang-una, briefly, about Robin Padilla. Mukha ba siyang the number one re-electionist senator according to the Pulse Asia survey? Medyo kumambyo ba siya sa kanyang statement this morning?
Hindi. Dahil siguro tingin niya, kaya siya number one ay dahil ganun siya. Kaya I doubt kung kakambyo siya in the next few weeks or months. Parang unapologetic siya. At yung survey will strengthen that position. Pero tingin ko naman, hindi naman siya strategy or tactics for Robin. It's more
That's
about
the way
his
he is.
character.
Which is?
Na ganun siya.
Okay, sige.
Gusto mo bang ipaliwanag ko ba?
Oo, ano ba yung character na yun? Should we not challenge him to, at least
Of course.
study more.
Actually, yung
Take your role more seriously.
Tingin ko very pregnant with meaning yung sinabi ng prosecution na ang dapat walang pinapanigan, ang dapat hindi biased ay yung senator judges. That's a mouthful. At doon talagang tagos yun hanggang buto.
O sige, iwan na natin si Senator Robin Hood Padilla. Let's go to the SONA. Everybody is awaiting. It will be on Monday. Ano ba yung expectation mo?
Well, una, ang i-build up dyan ng presidente ay yung upper middle income country na tayo. No? Tingin ko yan yung kanyang cup half full. Okay. No? Ang problema ay dahil ito yung first SONA after nung mahiya ka naman SONA, ay marami siya sigurong sasabihin na sana. Sana mas maraming nahuli na big fish, na contractors, etc. Pero yung ating judicial system ay mabagal, marami pang preliminary investigation, case build-up ang gagawin. So, tingin ko magpapaliwanag siya ng mahaba sa presinto. No? At ang tingin kong elephant in the room, yung other side nitong tinatawag nating upper middle income na tayo. Dahil yung ating economic fundamentals medyo problematic. Yeah. Like naiwan tayo ng rehiyon in terms of inflation. Naiwan tayo ng rehiyon in terms of unemployment, in terms of growth rate. Nagsimula yung 2022 na tayo yung fastest growing economy. Ngayon tayo yung slowest growing economy. So marami siyang ipapaliwanag dyan. Of course, ang sasabihin niya ay ito ay lahat ay dahil sa external factors like the Iran war. Pero hindi rin siya totally totoo. Yeah. Dahil marami rin tayong mga kakulangan sa ating policies as a nation. Kaya two-edged yung pag sinabi mo na external yung cause nitong ating economic problems. No?
Yung ipagmamalaki niyang upper middle income or middle income, sa ordinaryong Pilipino, parang hindi rin nila ramdam yan eh.
Exactly. Dahil yan, ang tawag natin dyan, functional enhancement.
So paano mo ipagmamalaki yun? Hindi yun...
Well, dahil matagal na yung hinahabol ng mga previous government.
Actually, during the Duterte administration, they tried.
At naunahan na tayo ng Indonesia 5 years ago. Kaya nalampasan na rin tayo ng Vietnam, no? 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Kaya siguro with very few positive developments sa ating ekonomiya, yun yung isa diyan. Pero meron ding downside diyan dahil mawawala dramatically yung ating official development aid. Although sabi nila may transition naman.
Yes.
Pero pag ikaw ay upper middle income na, hindi ka na kinakailangan, hindi ka na bibigyan ng tulong ng mga mayayamang bansa in terms of ODA. Oh.
Mag-a-attend kaya ng SONA si Congressman Martin Romualdez? What do you think?
Tingin ko kung hindi pa siya sasampahan ng kaso, meron pa namang isang araw na natitira bukas, tingin ko dadalo siya. No? Pero yung nilabas ng ombudsman na nagtangka siyang tumakas, I think that will rankle sa kanya. Na naglabas din ng statement yung kanyang opisina, there's no such an attempt. No? Kaya ibig sabihin, medyo masama loob nila.
I ask because just yesterday, Mike Defensor, former Congressman Mike Defensor was so defiant and said, isunod nyo na si Martin Romualdez. And their demeanor, even Senator Marcoleta, didn't seem at all like, they were worried about the cases they were facing. Where is that attitude of defiance coming from?
Well, partly dahil suportado sila ng isang powerful religious group na sinubukang mag-mobilize ng malaki but failed in doing so. No? Partly dahil yung kanilang kandidato, yung kanilang leader ay nangunguna pa rin sa survey, including some of their friends na senador. No? Siguro upbeat sila. No? At ikatlo ay bagamat tumaas ng 8 percentage points yung gobyerno, negative pa rin yung kanilang approval rating. So perhaps yung mga variables na yan ang nagpapataas ng kanilang confidence. Pero whatever happens, I doubt kung makakalaya sila in the next 2 years.
So they're banking on a VP Sara victory in the 2028 election.
Yes, dahil ang tingin nila ay katulad na nangyari in the past. Yung mga nakulong nung panahon ni Pinoy ay napalaya nung panahon ni Digong. No? Kaya siguro umaasa sila. But then again, 2 years in prison is still 2 years in prison.
And, well, yeah. And we remember GMA pardoning former President Estrada.
Yes. And GMA din, nakalaya din. Nakulong siya ng panahon ni Pinoy, nakalaya siya ng
So
panahon
parang
ni Digong.
weather-weather lang.
Ganun ang tingin nila.
Ang tingin nila. Let's go to that survey that shows, hindi ka nagulat, VP Sara really lording it over.
Well, not really. Una, yung survey na kinundak was before impeachment. Ikalawa,
pero na-transmit na sa Senado yung impeachment, articles of impeachment, plus nag-hearing na ng kihaba-haba ang Justice Committee ng House.
Yes, like last year.
Yeah.
Last year na na-transmit din, hindi naman nagbago yung numbers niya. Ikalawa, ay practically it's the same survey nung previous survey. Hindi naman siya tumaas eh. Tumaas siya ng 2%, that's within the margin of error. So in a way, plateau pa rin siya. Since nung nag-announce siya na tatakbo for president. Hindi siya tumaas, hindi siya bumaba, walang bump. No? Ikatlo ay minimeasure siya against the government na negative yung approval rating. Natural, mas mataas siya. Diba? Ikaapat, aside from her, wala pa naman nagsasabi na tatakbo for president. So wala pang
real rival.
Yeah, na i-measure siya against, no, doon, no. Pero ang alam ko, may isang survey na ginawa doon na na-cover na yung first week ng impeachment, lalabas yan over the weekend at mukhang yung teaser ay bumaba siya. Ibig sabihin, may simula ng initial impact na yung impeachment sa kanyang numbers. Makikita natin yan over the weekend. 2 days time. So,
before the President SONA.
Yes.
Parang timing.
Yes, oo. Dahil yung mga previous survey kasi before the SONA, no? Before the SONA, before the impeachment.
Yeah. So we will see that it's starting to hurt.
Could be. Hindi ko pa nakita itong survey na ito. Nabalitaan ko lang. napalabas na at saka in general terms ay bumaba siya.
Itong pangalawang article of impeachment na ilalatag ng prosecution, because the first was yung grave threats nga, nakita na rin natin in
Yung
a way.
bribery.
Oo. Hindi, yung COA, yung misuse
Yung
of confidential funds.
funds.
Oo.
Oo.
So, do you think wala pa ring tama yun?
Well, ang bago dyan, si Madriaga, na ang sabi ni Vice President, never pa niya na-meet at hindi niya kilala, pero later on, napatunayan, na-meet na niya at saka kakilala niya. No, pero sabi niya, hindi credible witness. Let's see. Dahil ang sabi ni Madriaga, hindi lang 11 days inubos yung 120 million. One day. So, papakinggan natin, ano ba yung kanyang smoking gun tungkol dyan. Ikalawa, yung iba kasi hindi na bago. Yung COA report, notice of disallowance. Siguro ang bago dyan, ipapatawag as witness si Piatos. No?
Yun na nga eh. Yung gambit na yan, anong ibig sabihin?
Ang mukhang habol dyan ng prosecution,
Parang she doesn't exist.
there is no such person. No? Yan yung kanilang gambit dyan. No? Kaya, pero, ang mahalaga yung Monday session ng impeachment na dinesisyonan na isasabpina yung bank accounts.
Right.
Yan yung pinakamahalaga perhaps dito sa impeachment na ito before the actual voting. Dahil nanalo yung desisyon na bubuksan or yung kanyang bank account isasabpina at ililift yung bank secrecy laws.
Right.
Although, hindi nagbotohan.
Yes.
Dahil kung nagbotohan, magiging indicative yan to some extent doon sa magiging botohan sa dulo.
Pero may mga nag-indicate na that they will send their written dissent or comments.
Yeah. Mga lima.
Senator Loren Legarda, Senator Camille Villar, the two Cayetanos, and I
Aimee.
forget, Aimee. So 5 yon.
Surprisingly, may dalawa na hindi sumama.
Si Senator Bongo and Senator Mark Villar. O anong indication nun?
It's an indication na baka soft yung dalawa.
But if you also submit your dissent or indicate your dissent to that decision, doesn't necessarily mean rin naman na boboto ka, you will absolve the Vice President.
Not necessarily, pero yung indications, yung leaning mo, malinaw. Diba? Because the bank accounts is the most important component nitong impeachment. Kaya ngayon yung naging battleground last Monday. Ang kulang lang yung actual na botohan. Na
Oo nga eh.
very interesting na makita.
But I guess they thought, it's not naman as if the presiding officer decided that on his own. They had a caucus.
Yes.
So they heard.
Yes.
They heard.
Although hindi nila aaminin. No.
Okay, now let's go back to the SONA. Itong conflict with China will be probably in the President's State of the Nation address also.
Yes, may sinabi yung presidenteng reset, although hindi natin alam kung anong ibig sabihin nun. No? May increasing aggression, may lumalabas na may provisional agreement na dinedenay ng gobyerno, pero inamin ng Chinese ambassador na meron, kaya kami nag-react dahil nilabag nyo yung ating pinagkasunduan na provisional agreement. Kaya nasa hot water ngayon ng DFA. Ano ba yung provisional agreement na yan na dinedenay ng Secretary of National Defense?
Walang kinalaman ng Defense Department.
Dapat meron. Dapat meron. No? Pero yun yung isa. Kalawa, tayo ang chairman ng ASEAN. At hinahabol natin na makadalo si Xi Jinping na hindi dumadalo sa ASEAN. No? So perhaps may ganong klaseng tactical softening. No? At dito sa
Do we
ating
need
posisyon, no, we don't need that. Pero baka yun yung kanilang agenda.
Why?
During
Para lang we just hosted him?
Well, during our watch, umupo yung Chinese president at posible magkaroon ng code of conduct. No, yun yung kanilang agenda. Pero sigurado ko, hindi papayag ang China sa isang code of conduct na ang term of reference ay yung arbitral award ng UNCLOS sa atin. Na yun naman ang ating minimum.
Yeah.
Diba?
So what's O, tama ito kay BBM.
Depende sa handling niya. Kung i-maintain niya yung ating posisyon na suportado tayo ng international law laban dito sa 9, 10, 11 dash line ng China. Therefore, we don't need a provisional agreement dahil ating teritoryo ito. Kung i-maintain niya yan, tingin ko sa Filipino people, lalakas ang kanyang suporta. Lalo na ngayon na negative yung kanyang approval rating.
And also, if he frames it against the VP who is leaning
Towards
China.
Yeah.
And what's at stake for us in 2028?
Yes.
I wonder bakit hindi yan ginagamit na issue.
Well, nung midterm election, nung campaign, mukhang ginamit niya. Ang problema, siya lang ang gumamit. Yung kanyang buong senatorial slate, hindi ginamit.
So, ibig sabihin, may kaba pa rin ang mga iba sa ganitong issue. Are they because they're beholden to China? Or they don't want to? Or ayaw nilang galitin? O ano bang...
It could be all of the above. Dahil meron pa rin tayong mga big business na link sa China. Lalo na yung mga malls na 90% ng kanilang binebenta galing sa China. Yung mga Divisoria, yung mga Baklaran, no? etc. Yung mga negosyante na nakatali dyan. No? Ikalawa, ayaw din nilang magalit sa kanila yung China dahil, halimbawa, yung number 1 SOCMED platform natin, yung TikTok, pwedeng i-weaponize laban sa kanila yon dahil ang may-ari noon ay China. Ikatlo, baka kinakabahan sila na baka tulungan ng China yung kanilang mga kalaban. Na ayon sa chismis, pumapasok na yung tulong ng China, no? Doon sa kalaban ng gobyerno. No? So,
nakikita mo ba to sa impeachment trial?
Hindi pa ganun ka-apparent, no? Dahil mas iba pa yung mga issues. Pero posible na sumulpot yan later on.
Okay, finally, mabalik tayo sa flood control. Because ito yung issue ng selective justice ng kampo ni VP Sara. How will the President explain this? He's in a tough spot kasi wala talaga siya masyadong marireport sa taong bayan.
Hindi ko alam. Ano yung papaliwanag? Dahil ang pwede lang niyang gawin ay magsimula na siyang magpakulong. Yung mga pinumisan niyang mga contractors na 15. Yung pinumisan niyang 67 congressmen na involved dito sa mga anomalous transactions na ito.
He cannot dictate naman to the ombudsman because it's an independent constitutional body.
Well, he cannot dictate.
Can he say, I'm giving Ombudsman Boying Remulla 1 month? Something like
yung
that.
ombudsman na nagpromisa last year pa.
Oo nga eh.
Last December, before Christmas, last March, last May, last week.
Maybe it's the ombudsman that should report to us on Monday. Ahead of the SONA.
Yes. Kaya doon sa usapin na yan, hindi ko sigurado anong sasabihin ng presidente.
Sabi, expect something, a surprise, sabi ni Yusek Claire Castro.
Yung, yung ganun surprise? O yung, ganun? Depende.
Ikaw, porque a lovely show na yung dinadala mo dito. Next time, pag nag-guest.
Very behave nga ako, hindi mo napapansin. Hindi naman, sa lovely show, unhinged ko ron eh.
Oo nga, kung ano-ano mga costume mo. Or meron ka pang wig na...
Kamukha ng kwan. Yung unggoy na pinakita ng China. Yun ang attire ko eh.
Yun ba?
Yun ang attire ko.
Hindi ko na-gets.
Hindi mo na-gets. Napaka-slow mo naman.
Okay, we'll let you go. Always a pleasure having you here. That was One News political pundit Ronald Llamas.
Maraming salamat.
You are watching The Big Story in One News. When we return, after his Mahiya Naman Kayo speech, will PBBM have a bombshell in his 5th SONA?
Definitely hindi mawawala ang mga naging accomplishments ng administrasyon. Hintayin po natin sa Lunes.
sasabihin nyo na po, itaas ang pamasahe. Pero, in a different way. Una, itaas ang pamasahe na supportive.
Pamasahe.
Ayan, supportive. Sir, sad.
Itaas ang pamasahe.
Sarcastic.
Itaas ang pamasahe.
So, dapat may sweet version ng itaas ang pamasahe.
Sa ating mahal na Pangulo, mahal ka po namin at sa kay Chairman Vigor Mendoza, I love you po. Sana itaas nyo na ang pamasahe.
Ang sweet-sweet naman.
Mar Valbuena there of Transport Group Manibela accepting the acting challenge of Good Morning Kapatid. Today, Manibela is on its second day of protest. They are demanding a fare hike amid the fuel price hikes lately. You're still watching the big story in One News. Malacanang is not ruling out major announcements in President Bongbong Marcos's upcoming State of the Nation address. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro says the president is fine-tuning his speech, which he personally wrote. Although she has seen its key points, Castro declined to say whether Marcos will make any major announcements during Monday's SONA.
So, antayan na lang po natin kung anong sasabihin ng Pangulo dahil nakita naman din po natin, definitely hindi mawawala ang mga naging accomplishments ng administrasyon. Pero kung ano pa ang kanyang sasabihin, hintayin po natin sa Lunes.
Meanwhile, it's all systems go at the House of Representatives for July 27. SONA Day begins with the opening of the 20th Congress's second regular session in the morning. In recent years, the president makes his address at 4 in the afternoon. Some lawmakers are already expecting Marcos to outline his priorities for the remaining 2 years of his term.
Know that this will be the last two SONAs of the president, and it'll probably be laying out yung legacy building. But for us, hopefully, tumataas ulit yung presyo ng gasolina. Hopefully, oil deregulation is part of the conversation. Hopefully, maisama sa LEDAC yung MC taxi bill po namin. I mean, transportation-related, sana po tuloy-tuloy na po talaga.
Sabi ko, una ay yung land use. Siyempre, gusto rin nating marinig ang mangyayari sa laban natin sa political dynasty. At na dineclare din naman din nila na priority, freedom of information, na matagal nang tinutulak ng mga sektor.
Tomorrow, July 24, the NCRPO goes on full alert with over 20,000 police officers to be deployed across Metro Manila alongside personnel from other agencies. At the lower chamber, a lockdown is already in place with only essential personnel allowed entry via QR code-enabled SONA passes. House Sergeant-at-Arms Melchor de la Cruz says authorities cannot afford to let their guard down amid continuing threats against the president. Aside from these preparations, anticipation is growing as well as to the content of the SONA. One political analyst believes the 2026 address will be a defining moment for Marcos as he enters the final stretch of his term.
After the mahiya naman kayo rhetoric, wala kasing konkretong nangyari a year after regarding the flood control. And true enough, ngayon papasok na naman tayo, nandito na naman tayo sa monsoon season, mararamdaman na naman natin yung pagbaha. Siyempre, sisingilin siya rito ng taong bayan kung ano na ba talaga nangyari.
The president's fifth SONA is coming in the thick of the impeachment trial against his estranged vice president. Let's talk about that trial again with constitutional law expert John Molo of the UP College of Law. Welcome back to the Big Story, Professor.
Good to be back.
Well, first of all, let's go to the Senate order of the release of VP Sara's Peso Bank accounts as well as the corporate or the shared account with her husband, as well as the AMLAC records. Do you expect the defense to seek a contrary opinion from the Supreme Court?
Well, I think at this point they are already exploring what their remedies will be. I cannot second guess or anticipate what exactly they will use. But remember, what was really just issued was a subpoena. So once that subpoena is honored, it doesn't necessarily mean that all the documents brought before the impeachment court will be admitted into evidence already. There's still a fight on how to get each document into the record of the impeachment court. So that could also be an avenue that they're gonna explore.
That when the prosecution produces these documents, they will oppose during the trial itself?
Yes, yes. Because the subpoena really is just an order directed to a person or to an agency to bring certain documents before the court. Now, if you want to use those documents, either side, then it's gonna be a separate fight to get them into the record of the impeachment court.
However, the prosecution can already present those documents on the floor. So the public will be able to view the documents, right?
We can expect the defense to raise objections with respect to whatever document that the prosecution will try to present. Parang katulad din yan ng mga previous impeachment cases natin. Na once sinusubok ng i-presenta, the objections will start coming in.
Or the senator judges themselves can intervene?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Because there are, well, as you and I kind of observed over the past few days, it was really a very contentious oral argument between the two sides, and then even the senator judges had their differing opinions. I don't think the arguments with respect to each and every single piece of document involved in this large portion has been resolved. So we can expect some of those to come up again.
And we expect these documents to be voluminous. I mean, they
Yep.
span over almost 20 years.
Yes, and says, I mean, for people who are engaged in litigation or arbitration like us, sanay kami sa maraming dokumento. Ang problema mo dyan, ang tawag nga namin dyan sa discovery, be careful what you wish for. Kasi mamaya, pag rinant ng court yung hiningi mong subpoena,
Dadagsain
bigla
ka.
kang dadagsain ka, truck yung dumating. So hindi mo alam kung ano yung gagamitin mo, alin yung gagawin mo. Limitado yung oras, and more importantly, limitado ang attention span ng senator judges at ng publiko.
But this portion is the last article that they will present. If I am I right?
No, this is for the unexplained wealth portion already.
Which
Yes.
they scheduled as the last.
Yes.
Now, that though doesn't will not prevent the prosecution from being able to flash these documents. Let's say they're huge amounts, even if the defense successfully objects to their admission, nakita na ng taong bayan. Isn't that damaging to their client, to the VP?
Well, we need to take note that the order issued by the presiding officer said that with respect to certain records, I think the AMLA records, they have to be produced in camera first. Kasi there's going to be a separate inquiry kung alin ang pwede mong actually i-flash pa dyan eh. So doon pa lang, baka nga maybe the expectation of the public is that everything is gonna be flashed already. Hindi din. Meron pa tong isang step na linagay yung presiding officer sa kanyang order. May mga items na kailangan mo nang dumaan sa in-camera inspection.
What does that mean exactly? Can you elaborate?
Kasi nga, because of certain confidentiality requirements under the law. For example, sa AMLA, kasi yung proseso ng pag-combat ng money laundering, may mga certain methodologies dyan na hindi pwede i-disclose din. Kasi mahirapan naman yung AMLA gawin yon para sa ibang mga kaso.
I see.
Pag
Parang
malaman,
mabubuko yung kanilang means of
Yes.
tracing. Okay.
Yes. So if you're gonna protect that methodology, the best way to do it, and this is done actually in court also, the court will ask both sides or maybe the agency required to present it in camera sa kanila lang muna. Siguro ang equivalent parang executive session
I see.
para makita muna. And then saka magkakaroon ng, okay, sige, ito ang pwede. Kasi nga, may sensitivities din ng money laundering yung AMLA eh.
So there may be executive sessions during that presentation of
It
supposed
will be
Hilton?
similar, but technically it's called in camera.
Mhm.
But the analogy that I can use na madaling matandaan ng publiko with parang similar to an executive session muna. Oo.
Mhm. All right. And this is going to happen already at the end of July. The delivery by the banks,
Yes.
by AMLA.
Mm.
So we expect during that procedure, attorney, hindi na pwedeng mag-oppose doon ang defense. They'll all
Pwede
just
pa
be
rin.
receiving the documents.
They will receiving it, but you know, as lawyers, we are really trained to object at every step of the way. So I even like me, when sometimes meron kaming simple marking sa pre-trial, wala naman dun yung judge, nandun lang yung clerk of court, tatatakan lang naman yan ng exhibit A, exhibit B. Minsan sa ganung proseso nag-aaway pa rin kami. Kasi I mean, that's our training. So for that aspect, katulad din ng pre-trial, nagkaroon din ng ganong klaseng mga debates. It's part of the process actually.
So, Attorney Molo, maraming ang nagsasabi, may mga observers who are saying, strategy talaga yan ng defense para magsawa ng tao sa panood nitong impeachment trial. Or it's
One can
just
say
your
that.
DNA as lawyers.
Well, ganito, to be fair, being a lawyer myself, I will have to apologize to the public for boring all of you with all of these details that we geek out. But also, just to be fair, I can understand why some people say it's a strategy of defense. We have to remember that the job of the defense for this trial, especially for the first article, is a very difficult one. They were given a set of facts where the video that we are all fighting about was practically seen by all Filipinos already.
Right.
So what do you want them to do? They have a job to do, right? So of course they have to raise their objections. They're doing their job. So we appreciate that for what it is. However, at the same time, the commentary that sometimes the entire proceeding gets bogged down in legalities is also fair because it is an impeachment proceeding, not a criminal proceeding. Fair din yun. So ang power actually i-marshal dyan, nasa presiding officer. And maganda naman yung naging evolution ng trial over the past 2 weeks. Bumibilis na eh. Nung simula lang para talagang mabagal. But ngayon medyo nagkakaroon na ng groove.
I've asked this of our attorney guests on the show. Did you think the prosecution made its case in terms of Article 4 of the impeachment?
Well, you know, with respect to the videos, there's no case to be made at this point. As I said before, you know, the videos have been seen by the public. You cannot put toothpaste back into the tube. It is what it is. So at this point, the prosecution is really targeted at persuading. Because the evidence, I mean, everybody saw that. But ang tanong talaga, were they able to persuade? True believers, for example, like Senator Padilla, I don't think so. Right? Ang tina-target mo dyan yung nasa gitna. Were they able to do that? The only way to find out is when they vote.
Ikaw, were you?
For me, when I saw the videos, it really disturbed me because the question, as a professor of constitutional law and as a citizen, the question that I have is simple. In a constitutional democracy, okay lang ba na meron kang vice president na sinasabi, galit ako sa presidente for whatever reason na galit ako, pero na-imagine ko siyang pugutan ng ulo or huwag kayong mag-alala, nag-contact na ako ng assassin para patayin siya. The analogy that I keep on using is what if this was said by Leni Robredo in 2016 or by Jojo Binay. The justification does not make it right. And the circumstances does not make it acceptable.
Okay.
Or should it? Diba?
Okay. And once again, to recap what happened in the last 2 weeks, was it a flaw for the prosecution not to have presented ex-NBI Director Jaime Santiago instead of the current one? Although NBI Director Melvin Matibag was able to insert in his testimony during cross, actually, a lot of conclusions of fact and law.
Well, I don't think that's an error because you have to present the person who has custody and control over the office right now. So call mo yon. Now, of course, if they ask in cross questions that the current witness, the current occupant of the office is not competent to testify on because precisely that happened before my term, that's
Yeah.
not the fault of the prosecution. Oo. Kaya ang tawag namin dyan, ang tinetestify na lang ng current public officer is ano ba yung mga dokumento na inabutan mo when you assumed office.
So,
He
hindi yun
cannot have a
mistake.
time machine.
Hindi
Oo.
naman mistake yun.
Kasi parang ang talagang namang tatawagin mo yung current. Di ba? Yung current. Kasi ang tanong mo is, nasan investigation, ano yung tinignan nyo. Now, as for conclusions of fact and law, in cross-examination, that's very tricky. You can only ask questions you are sure you know the answer to.
Pero nakakasingit nga siya kahit hindi yun ang tanong nung defense. Was that smart of him?
That's the very smart. All three NBI witnesses, to be fair to the defense, were very difficult witnesses to crack. Mga trained kasi yan. Alam mo, Ses, parang yung mga NBI, sanay yan mag-testify sa korte where everything is much more aggressive.
I see.
So hindi mo yan makakrack. Like yung pinakaunang agent na nag-testify, he didn't flinch. I mean,
Yeah.
di ba? I mean, despite all that Attorney Narvasa did, I mean, he was water over rock. Ganun lang. Melvin Matibag is, remember, also a practitioner, a law dean, and he's a political operator. So how will you crack a witness like that? Isisingit niya talaga.
Well, the
Kung ano yung masisingit
suggestion by the defense of him being a political operator, it was Senator Robin Padilla.
Yeah.
What was he trying to insinuate? That he was a player, he changes loyalties, or
Yeah, that he's a gun for hire.
yeah.
Except that you
That
are
he was
presenting
biased.
not before a court of law, but before politicians who, rather than blame a guy for being a mercenary for political operations, they might hire the guy. So parang I don't know if that was effective kasi parang hindi naman judge yung kaharap niya, kundi yung mga politiko might actually hire this guy because he's so effective.
Or maybe the public actually.
The public is the secondary audience as well, but look, the fact that he was testifying to is that they made these investigations. So what does his past have to do whether or not the investigations were made by his agents? So parang it's not as powerful in that respect. Kasi kung hindi NBI ang mag-i-investigate dun sa threats against the president, sino? Right?
Now,
So
okay. Still on that issue of the NBI investigation, why did the prosecution make a big to-do suggesting that they had a bombshell, etc., and suggesting that the identity of the assassins would be revealed if actually they had already made their case that this is an impeachable offense, right? The matter of grave threats is a betrayal of public trust and is a violation of her oath of office. Why did they have to, parang gusto pa nilang isagad, sinasabi na nila, na-present na nila nga yung kaso, happy na sila.
I was talking to some of my colleagues as well. So I didn't understand also. Preceding the testimony of Director Matibag, there was a lot of hype about fireworks and everything. It just made the public kind of anticipate everything. And then when he finally testified, parang wala naman, right? In fact, the first part of his testimony was kind of, ang tawag nga ng mga Gen Z, mid. So it was only the cross-examination on the second day that really made it more interesting again. So I'm not sure what the additional weight his testimony actually gave, considering that they never disclosed who these suspects are.
Right.
And parang nung tinanong pa ni Senate President Gatchalian, so when will you be able to, because I think the defense scored some points there, to be fair din naman. Because as somebody who's witnessing the trial also, I started asking questions. So why is he there again? What was he supposed to do? Parang ganun.
Oo nga eh. Parang it's like you're already saying you're winning and then you're extending it by adding something na wala naman. Parang nawala yung icing sa cake or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to the prosecution, they might have maybe in the pre-case conference, they might have been given an idea of what the director might be willing to disclose. But who knows what happened in between that case conference and then the actual testimony? Maybe there's a national security or intelligence that came in that the director has to protect. Therefore, he had to beg off from disclosing. It's possible.
It's possible.
Diba? It's possible na ganun ang nangyari, na during the case conference, merong ganun na nasabi na ito yung scope ng testimony ko. And then in between, may development, maybe a national because we cannot deny it's still a national security issue.
Right.
We are talking about the president. Regardless of which political spectrum you belong, it's the president. We don't threaten presidents as a matter of, it really triggers a lot of alarm bells.
Well, once again, we thank you for sharing your insights with us, Attorney John Molo, Constitutional Law Professor at the UP College of Law. This is a big story on One News, and coming up are details of the Office of the Vice President's letter asking the Senate to pay for catered food for the impeachment defense team.
It's a basic issue of budget. Meron tayong ibang gastusin at we have to prioritize, of course, yung budget hearings at committee hearings. In short, wala kaming pondo para magbigay ng pagkain sa prosecution and defense.
Welcome back to the big story. Senate President Win Gatchalian will probably reject a request from Vice President Sara Duterte's camp. And the reason? Funds are tight. In a letter dated July 7, the Office of the President asked the upper chamber for food and beverage exclusive for Duterte's defense team. The OVP also suggested a catering service accredited by them and the Senate shouldering the full cost. The special food arrangement is supposedly meant to ensure the safety and well-being of the Vice President's defense team. As it is, according to the Senate President, the ongoing impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte is already eating up resources. Down to 3 committee rooms with the rest occupied by trial operations, the Senate may have to rent external session spaces at the nearby PICC.
But it's a basic issue of budget. No? Dahil nga hindi kaya ng budget dahil meron tayong ibang gastusin at we have to prioritize, of course, yung budget hearings at committee hearings.
Here are the other stories making headlines this Thursday. For the 4th time in as many months, the Philippine peso returned to a record low, closing this Thursday at 61.75 against the US dollar. Renewed tensions in the Middle East boosted demand for the greenback, driving the local unit back to the same record low first reached in May. Meanwhile, police have arrested 2 suspects in the killing of vlogger Mima Alicia Lipata, who was shot dead in Caloocan City last July 17. The PNP says the alleged gunman and his accomplice were tracked down in Mabalacat, Pampanga. Lipata was reportedly a supporter of President Bongbong Marcos and critical of the Dutertes. Authorities are now pursuing other people who may have planned or facilitated the attack.
We have received information that we cannot disclose yet as of now so as not to compromise yung ating pong ongoing operations as well as manhunt operations and investigation. But all I could say is based on that information, there were some other people involved.
Now on to the weather. Tropical Depression Quiapo continues to move northwest over the Philippine Sea with signal number 1 now raised over 14 areas in northern Luzon. Pag-asa says the cyclone is expected to strengthen into a tropical storm before exiting the PAR early Saturday, then track towards southeastern China. And Lieutenant General Michael Lohico has assumed command as the 86th Superintendent of the Philippine Military Academy. He succeeds Vice Admiral Cesar Bernard Valencia, who retired after more than 4 decades of service. A member of PMA Maalab class of 1993, Lohico also serves as the commander of the Philippine Army Training Command. And here's another look at bravery at sea, our big picture tonight. 2 Philippine Navy personnel who are recovering at Camp Ricarte Station Hospital in Puerto Princesa, Palawan. They were injured while carrying out their mission near Ayungin Shoal during a recent confrontation with the China Coast Guard in the West Philippine Sea. They were struck by wooden batons by the Chinese Coast Guard on July 20. President Bongbong Marcos visited the servicemen, conferring them the Order of Lapu-Lapu for their courage and sacrifice. He also granted each of them 100,000 pesos in financial assistance. And those are the big stories this Thursday, July 23. I'm Ces Orenia Drilon. Kapatid, we are One News, your side, all the time. Good night.